right? Why do you make these important? What was your biggest takeaway? And what's the one thing you're going to implement in your business? So you guys can kind of prepare to get those answers. But with whatever remaining time we have left, I'm going to kind of open it up for a little bit of Q&A from you guys. All three of these individuals go to Mega Camp, go to Family Reunion for a different reason, right? Rachel is going to be focusing on market center leadership stuff, but also networking with other agents, other MCAs, other stuff like that. Mark, the referral king over here. I don't know if any of you guys are on like LabCode or any of those sites. You'll never not see a referral being dropped to Mark Stewart about 100 times in those pages. So Mark does a phenomenal job at these places, networking for future business. And then Kevin, not really sure why we pay for him to go to these events, but just kidding. So again, Kevin focuses big time on the networking side of it, but then also getting in the room with these bigger thinkers, some of these massive agents that are out there, and what we all aspire to be, or what we aspire to be at least, going forward. So first of all, Rachel, I know you're obviously MC of our office. You're also the regional MCA for
the
Mid-American region, which is
23 offices in Indiana and Illinois.
Indiana and Illinois. So what's the number one reason that you make, obviously you have to go for your position, but what's the biggest, what's the biggest thing, what's the reason that you will make that a priority every year?
Specifically around Mega Camp, it's hearing what Gary is telling our agents and being able to come back and talk to our agents that didn't have the opportunity to attend, allowing me to be that connecting point for them. So when we were there, we got 30 plus models on different aspects of an agent's business. So if they said, hey, I have questions around lead generation, great, I actually have this handout. And funny enough, it's written by the Veris Network, but it's all about how to go and lead generate for your business. Do you want to know how to find out more? Great, let's walk through this and have a meeting. So for me, it's being able to be that connecting point for them and hearing those conversations.
Was that the first year they did that with all the models available? Yeah. That was super cool. I've not been to Mega, so I asked that question. I've done the virtual Mega a few times. I've never had the opportunity to go before, but Family Reunion, I've never had that presented to us, never given to us. And that was huge. Whether it's something we implement or not, having that information was, I thought, so cool.
We were able to leave and we actually have a whole playbook.
Yeah.
So there's no questions about it. And
these weren't random playbooks that were just given to them either. It was all the people they had on stage or leading the big groups, the big panels. It was
every time they get on stage
awesome.
and say, okay, how do we find out more? Well, great, we already have it. So thankfully the panelists don't get their emails blown up saying, hey, can you send me this? But one of the things that stuck out to me was 80% of our agents that are in the business now have been in the business since 2019. So they've never been through a shift. They never heard these conversations. They don't know what a price improvement is. They don't know what happens when a listing stays on the market longer than 2 hours. So hearing that was just like because we may hear it over and over being in leadership and having that opportunity, but our agents aren't hearing that.
Absolutely. Mark, why is it so important for you?
I'm speechless because there's so much knowledge that you get from going to these events. You know, it's a 20% of the 20%. If a person wants to be a leader, you just don't become a leader the next day. You have to prepare yourself to becoming a leader. And how you prepare yourself to becoming a leader is being in these mastermind classes, going to FSO, going to ESO, going to 30, 60, 90, going to the leverage series, so that when you get there, now you know what to do. You're not getting there and then trying to figure out what to do. You already know once you're there. And so going to Mega Camping, going to Family Reunion, man, I forgot who I was talking to this morning. I was like, I'm so excited. I don't know what to do first because there was so much to get into. When I say get into, there's so much to implement in your business. You just need more leverage in order to get there. And I could go on and on, but hopefully I answered your question.
So, and I'll ask a specific question to you when it comes, I joked about your referral that you, I mean, like full disclosure, I get annoyed by the fact that I'm like jumping on, like I see something like, oh, Springfield, Missouri or Ozark. And I'm like, boom, it's been on for 4 minutes. I'm going to put my name out there. I see Mark Stewart 15 times. How do you implement?
Always Mark.
How is that how do you make that a focus when you go to these events? Because clearly that's going to be a portion of it, right?
Yeah, you know, I mean, when I go to these events, I'm networking with the people that I've sold these houses to. And we just, I mean, we have such a strong alliance with one another that we just, I mean, we ride or die for one another. It's just been that big of a, it's had that big of an impact on my business.
Yeah.
And
When you
know,
walk around and you see Mark Stewart, he's at groups and tables and meeting people and networking like a madman. And you're chatting with everybody at the groups. And that's really admirable of you.
On the second night that we were there, we hung out with Elise Riley for a little while, quite a while, actually. We all went and scooted around Austin and like hung out. But she was scheduling her like time hanging out with our market center around the Rainbow Network events that she had. The largest referral network, period, right? Like how wild is that? And that's a KW event or a KW sector. So to think like that is the largest referral network, period, not specifics, like you're not like filtering it down. The power just within your brokerage at these large events that they have is astonishing.
Yeah.
Kev, why are they important to you to go? What makes them, you know, what's the thing that you look forward to most every year or twice a year, I guess, when you go to Family and Mega?
Yeah, my thing, I like to be around all the people that are doing massive things in business.
Mhm.
That was, Mega Camp was the first event I ever went to. It was the first place I heard somebody sold 1,000 houses in a year. And I didn't think that was possible. So for me, I like to be in those people's energy, kind of around them, see what they're doing, learning what they do, what they're saying, what they think the market's doing, how it's affecting them in their business and what they're looking at. Typically, it's all glass half full kind of stuff because they don't really think anything's going to affect them. They're so big. So that's my main priority. I like to learn from those people. And obviously what they're talking about on stage is super, super important because all these people are on stage. So I like to kind of hear it straight from the source. That's a big reason I go.
For sure. And I think to that point, my first year I went was in 2019. That was family reunion. That first year I was going to like the intro to building a team classes, right? Because I knew that was our trajectory, right? I knew that's what I wanted to do. And it was talking about how to get started with leverage. The next year it was, you know, you're in the rooms with people who are selling 500 homes, right? And then now we're looking at teams who are doing expansion at a high level. And you don't have, we talk about it being the 20% of the 20 percenters. You don't have to be a 20 percenter of the 20% to go, but you need to go with a mega agent mindset. Whether that's family reunion or mega, it doesn't matter because the energy that you're going to receive from these individuals are at that level. What was the big takeaway for you this year, Rachel? The one big takeaway.
Yeah. So selfishly, mine was around the wealth building
Yeah.
seminar of it.
So awesome.
I've never been to a training where they spent, 3 hours talking about wealth building, and gave us models on how to do it.
So cool.
And so I loved Brett Tanner, who is now part of KW Wealth. So he's actually holding private masterminds in Austin, Texas, and it's like $1,000 to get in this room. And last time they went, Trey had the opportunity to go, they brought in the speaker of a book in there to talk about investing and what that looks like. And you can only get in the room if you submit a business plan of a minimum of $50 million net worth to get into that room. So think about just expanding your mind in that. And he was on the stage talking to Gary, and he said one of the most impactful memories he had or conversations with Gary was, Gary asked him if he tracked his net worth, and he goes, no, not really. And he goes, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but you'll never be a wealthy man. And he goes, unfortunately, it was in a room full of multiple people. And Gary says, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry I said that. And he goes, no, I'm glad you told me that because now I track it every time. So my biggest aha was, Trey and I even did it last night, was setting a time on our calendar every month that we're tracking our net worth. And if it increases, okay, what caused it to increase? If it decreased, okay, what happened? Why did it decrease? And being able to adjust around that. Because the ultimate goal, and Dan told me this probably 2 months ago and it stuck with me. He's been really good at making money lately, but he hasn't been really good about building wealth. And so that stuck with me of like, okay, what am I doing with the money that I'm making? Am I able to build wealth in it to create future opportunities for my family?
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, you said you had a list of things that you took away. What's the one thing? What's the big thing
I can't narrow down to one thing.
what's the one that's not letting you sleep at night right now?
Mhm. Say that again, what?
What's the thing that's not letting you sleep at night right now?
saving money for one, because I'm switching to Command from Brivity, just from listening to everything that I got from the tech guys on a break. It was the last day and I spent about an hour and a half over there with them. So switching to Command to save money. There's a lot of things that are seamless with Command that I didn't have with Brivity. Why not use Command? I mean, it's made by Gary Keller and it's for us. And then, also Gary Keller had said, and I was going through my notes, lead generation is the last thing you should ever let go of. It's not that he loved it, but he's made peace with it. And it's just to know that Gary Keller, a man of, is it billions? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Man of billions.
Big B.
A man of billions has said he's made peace with lead generation.
He doesn't like it.
He didn't like it. He's made peace with it. That made, because, it was last week I was talking to my coach. I'm like, adding an ISA, do I let the ISA, call my database? And my coach said, let's look at what the MREA says. And Gary Keller never advocates for an agent to stop lead generating, always lead generate. And make 20 contacts a day. That was something else I got from
The most simple.
so
basic.
simple. We complicate it as agents, right? Don't we always try to figure out how do we do this to make it simple?
Where's the easy button?
Where's the easy button? There is no easy button. The easy button is 20 contacts a day. That's the easy
That should be on
button.
a t-shirt.
Now go to work, right? So,
That's good.
Yeah, I think that, I think it was cool just to see how honest Gary was this year, back to like Rachel's
Oh my
point,
gosh.
and then back to Mark's too, where it was, there's a couple of times on stage that he said some things, it was like, wow, that was intense to whoever he was interviewing, right? And you could hear the people in the crowd go, oh, like I wouldn't, like, ouch, right? But the person who was on stage understood it, right? They may not have loved hearing it in a room of 10,000 people, right? It's a little bit embarrassing when it's like just being called out on your BS. And that's, at one point he said it was BS to somebody. I don't remember who it was, but he's like, that's BS. And the guy was like, oh, but right there, that's going to stick with him, right? And it wasn't for Gary's purpose. Like Gary's not getting any more from that individual, but his goal was to mastermind with that individual in that moment and to help them succeed at a higher level.
Going back to Mark's comment, we're shifting into a skill-based market. And so that's just more affirmation of what we should be doing is the 20 contacts a day. And they said skills is number one, but service is now number two. Because if you're not mastering the skills, then you can't have the service for your clients.
Who are you servicing if you're not getting any of them? Kev, someone think.
I was trying to copy off of his notes, but I couldn't read
I
it.
know it's going wrong.
Really fast.
I know he's going too fast and his handwriting's a little rough. No, I agree with what they both said. I think that was my biggest takeaway is what an opportunity we have going into the market we're going into, being skill-based and going and hearing from what these people have to say. The more I can hone my skills, the better off I'm gonna be. So I think a lot of people hear everything that's going on and the slowdown and interest rates and everything and start to think it's a negative deal. I think if anything, it's opportunity to gain more market share through learning and teaching and through this kind of stuff we're hearing about. So that's my biggest thing coming back is how can I hone my skills and get even better at what I do on a daily basis. So when I go to these appointments, I sound that much better and that much stronger. But then also too, how simple is it? I just have to make my 20 contacts in a day. I have to be a little bit better at what I do every single day, every day, and increase slowly. And I should be able to come out of this, 10 times better than I was even when the market was crazy last year. So I came out of it with honestly kind of a fresh breath, like this will be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
super refreshed.
And I think one thing to keep in mind, guys, is, I know some of you guys are mega agents. Some of you guys are newer, right? Obviously with opening up this to everybody. I know there's a few really new faces in here. I see Justin and a few others here that are maybe not been privy to some of these big thinkers and these big events. And it was so cool this year, especially, and he's done it the last couple of years, talking about, right, profit first, building wealth, not just making money, and then getting back to the basics. I mean, it's so stinking easy. And to Mark's point, don't give up lead gen. When the big C word first came, COVID first popped out, right? everything came out of stop spending money,
Mhm.
right? It was pull money back, get rid of your offices. Sorry, market centers, I know you don't love that, but
It was slash
Right.
it to zero.
I mean, it was, except for lead generation, right? If you can pull off the lead gen by just doing it for free, great. But if you're gonna spend money anywhere, it needs to be there. And for our team at the time, it was just Lit and Keats Real Estate, and it was just 7 of us, 8 of us when we first started, 6 of us. We killed everything. We all worked out of our offices. We'd meet once or twice a week in person, and then we spent all the money that we saved and we put it into lead gen. And we had some of the best growth we've had ever because that was the last thing that we gave up. Someone, yeah, go ahead.
You know, listening to Sarah Reynolds when she was up on stage, does everyone know who Sarah Reynolds is?
Someone to ignore if you don't.
Tim, I mean, which,
Yeah.
She's mega agent, huge expansion, but she'll be the first to tell you it was built on nothing except for systems. And the systems are not hard. They're very, very clear cut and easy. They've all been laid out before, right? They've all been done before. She's just doing it at an extremely high level right now. And she's absolutely phenomenal.
Yep, they just went through a rebrand. Now,
Mhm.
used to be the Sarah Reynolds team, and now it's Empower Homes, and she's out of the Washington DC
DC,
metro area.
Baltimore area, yeah.
so she says, how do you protect your time? Have a 411, give it to your EA. How do top performers make a commitment to their goals? Take off anything that will distract you. How many times during the day do we get things that distract us? Every second of the day we get those things. She says, hire an EA, hire them to say no. She doesn't say no. Her EA says no. So she has her calls forwarded to her EA, and during those protected time periods, she doesn't say no. Her EA says no. And she says, say no. Her EA does that driving or during the protected periods, say no to the things. After that, you can say yes. So get through your protected periods during the day, and then say yes to those things that you had to say yes to during the other time that was protected.
So to that point, I'll get back. Our bold coach had just said something that I thought was so simple the other day. Set your voicemail and just put your times that you're not going to respond. It's okay. But you have to set that precedent up front, right? When you first meet with the client, when you're doing a buyer consult or listing consult, you give them that information. And then when they call at 9:45 on a Tuesday morning and you don't respond until 11:30, they know why, because they left you the voicemail that said, hey, between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., I'm lead generating, I'm working for future business, and I'm working to find a buyer or a seller for your house that I have listed. At 11 or between 11 and 12:30, I return all the calls and emails that I have, right? All that is just lets people know. And the reason we get distracted and we allow ourselves to get distracted is because no one knows the expectation. The reason that you're willing to answer your phone at 11 o'clock at night when a client calls is because you haven't given them the expectation that you're not going to do it. And that's all of us. I mean, I know I've done it plenty of times. I had a client that worked nights and I would be texting him at 2 or 3 in the morning. Or yeah, he worked nights, so he was up then, right? It's the worst decision I ever made, but I didn't set that expectation up front, and that was my fault.
Going back to what Mark said of having an EA to protect your time, I just think about Paulina a few years ago. She didn't have an EA, but she put the sign on her back when she was sitting in the tech room and said, do not talk to me. I will get distracted and I have things I got to get done. But it was just so funny because it was one of those things of setting those expectations to people, like, please don't bother me right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so simple, you know, and we used to room right next to our office, right next to Mark at the old building. And he had a sign up there all the time, but it said, you know, unavailable between 9 and 11 or 9 and 12, whatever it was, like, but it was extremely clear. If his door was closed and it was 12:30, I would knock on it if I needed him. If it was closed at 11:15, I wasn't going to bother him. It clearly said don't, right? But if he didn't set the expectations, I'm going to knock on that door at 9. He doesn't answer. I'm going to knock on it at 9:45. He doesn't answer. You know what I mean? Like, you'll get distracted. Rachel, what's one thing you're going to implement or that you want to see us implement after leaving?
I think my biggest thing is, so right now in my 411, it's 12 agent meetings a month. And so bumping those up, so it's 15 to 20 at this point. and going over the models with each of them. And so talking about the models, seeing what's going on in their business and seeing what models that have been given to us that we can take and say, okay, let's talk about this. Let's create a game plan moving forward. And then just following up on those. And not just here in our market center, but think how many agents not in Springfield or not here that don't get this kind of education. So reaching out to them and having a meeting with them because everybody's experiencing the same market right here.
Yeah.
And so they didn't get to experience that. So how do we bridge that gap to help them?
KW is the only one that had a mega cam. Just keep that in mind, right? So all of our competition that are in our brokerage or in our market right now, not our market center, but our market in the Springfield area, they didn't just get the opportunity to leave here, right? And get to mastermind with these individuals or whoever else went there or got to watch it here. Where I know Trey was watching it here down in the training room a lot, right? Other brokerages didn't get that opportunity, right? They had the opportunity to go, whether they chose to join us or not. And then that brokerage is not having training on it now. So there's huge opportunity for us on that side of it too.
And there's so much uncertainty right now. And it's the dialogue and controlling those conversations. So if I'm saying that all the time or saying that I'm afraid of this market, then what do you think I'm telling myself? So then how do we, flash flood.
Your car's parked in that little valley in our parking lot, heads up.
Well, makes me every night.
Teslas are flying away, guys.
But what are the conversations that we're having around this? And how do we change those? Because like Kevin said, this is time for opportunity.
Yeah.
And what training systems models do we need so our agents feel more equipped to go into that?
How many of y'all have had a call with another agent or you're talking to somebody else, right? And I have friends of mine that aren't agents and they'll ask me, how's the market? I'm like, that's great. There's a lot of opportunity, things are changing and it was time for a change. And they're shocked to hear that answer, right? Only because CNN, Fox, MSNBC, every news outlet, every Facebook post, every Instagram post that says the complete opposite. Right? Not a single person is giving you a positive message unless it's coming out of our mouths. And quite honestly, a lot of other agents have panic breath, right? We always talk about commission breath. Right now, they've got panic breath. We just got one under contract because the agent had panic breath to their sellers. And we got a hell of a deal because she was freaking out, right? Which then freaks out the seller. The seller's like, I just need to dump the property. And I'm cool with it. I don't care. Doesn't hurt my feelings at all, right? But I love it.
But I take it as my responsibility that in my role, my job is to equip our agents to make them feel safe.
If you don't
and
inform
comfortable.
other people, you've not done your job.
Correct, and have a plan to move forward. And so any agents that get out of the business, I'm thinking, okay, where did I fail them by not reaching out and saying, let's create a plan to move forward? And so this is awesome because now we actually have a plan and we don't have to have a lot of like entrepreneurial part of it.
Yep.
Let's just be purposeful about our business.
Mark, one thing you're gonna implement.
Listening to Kimberly Meeser from Up East, she does, we've heard it before, doing seminars. But the thing about it is just being consistent about the seminars. So many people give up after 1 or 2 seminars, somebody shows up, push the panic button, we're not doing that anymore. But she's done hundreds and she's, on stage, so she's doing something right. It's just the consistency of doing it.
Yeah.
And so-
Pick that path, stay consistent.
Yeah.
And give it ample time to actually succeed and just keep going on it.
Right.
Love it. Kev?
I kind of agree with what Rachel was talking about too here. I think the big thing for me is just to get really, really hyper consistent and protect my time. I think the only way to know I'm going to be successful is to do what successful people do, is make my contacts in the morning, protect my time, know that I'm studying and getting everything that I need to be prepared for that appointment when the appointment comes. So that I'm not losing out on opportunities. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is as stupid and small, as goofy as it sounds, it's that easy. It's, to be successful, you just have to do what successful people do. And that's what they're doing right now is
I think,
learning and consistency and reps
and knowing you, right? Like you're the energy in our office and it's hard sometimes to like
brutal.
that weird area, right? Like I gotta not be checked in on what's going on. I need to be checked in on mine,
Yeah.
but the opportunity that it allows and the growth that it gives anybody else around you. And then everybody else doing it as
Well,
well.
and yeah, I think energy also too. There's no better energy than busy energy, as long as the busyness is going towards something. Nobody's having fun when they're slow or poor. So why not make money?
Anybody have any questions? We got a couple minutes before some of them need to jump. Anybody got a question that they're just dying to know? No?
I know Haley was sending us the things from every, did she send them all?
The,
Right.
The playbooks.
yeah, the playbooks, the models.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know that she was sending that. I did get
They just
the,
did?
No, they were last week.
Oh, okay.
I did get the slides that they had previewed out actually today. And so I'll put them on the Facebook page so everyone can have them. And they actually, if you wanted to know any of the interviews more in depth, if you go to the Keller Williams Realty Inc. YouTube channel, they just revamped it. Everybody on stage had an interview and all those interviews are on there.
They're super good videos too.
Yeah.
They're cool.
And so that's another resource
They got
as
this up
well.
quick this time.
Yeah, they
They had
did.
snippets within a couple hours.
Yeah, and they had some of the videos
They normally don't,
pre-logged.
so that's awesome that they do.
That's rare.
Yeah, yeah,
And if
absolutely.
you guys didn't see the new video that they released talking about our new mission, take 5 minutes or however long it is to watch that. It is a really cool video, and the whole point behind it, John Keller, Gary Keller's son, went around to everybody, like top agents, and said, what did Keller Williams do for your life? What is the mission of Keller Williams? And everybody had a different answer. And so they hired these consultants to come and tell them what's their mission, what's their purpose of being in business. And at the end of the day, John walked into Gary and said, what is Keller Williams known for? And Gary said to build a company where entrepreneurs thrive. And they said, that's exactly it. And so that's what they're changing their new mission into. And so the video that is on the YouTube channel as well outlines that journey of what they've been through. And it's just a really cool video that you'll probably be seeing a lot of it now, is where entrepreneurs thrive, no matter if it's through wealth building, if it's through making other businesses, through your real estate business, or whatever makes you happy. As long as you're thriving, that's where Keller Williams is a place for you.
I just posted that, so if you go on Facebook, I just posted it earlier today.
First of all, it's extremely well done. It's probably the best marketing video I've ever seen it is the best marketing video I've ever seen out of Keller Williams. And to Rachel's point, it's something I've had a conversation with a few of my friends that are agents, right? They're like, why do you build a team? Because it's what I wanted, right? And he says, that's not what I want. I'm like, great, build your business, right? Build your life by design. I don't really care what your life by design is. I always say, as long as you're building your community, right, and you're bettering your community that you're a part of, who cares what that means? If that means $1 billion company or you want a cap every year, right? Just build your community and be better where you need to be. And there's nowhere better to be than right here to do that. Anybody got any final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when you guys are talking about protecting your time, you had given a good example as far as like setting expectations with your clients or potential clients, and then like notes outside your door, just what are some other little tips like that have been really beneficial for you guys throughout your time in real estate?
Hi.
So the one thing,
Same thing. I lock myself at home in my office and close the door.
the one thing has a really cool
Bunker.
5-step, 4-step thing that they do, but it's the bunker.
Build a bunker.
And yeah, build a bunker. Look that up. One thing, build a bunker, KW, you can't miss it. It'll be all over the place. It is, the reason it doesn't work for people is because it seems too easy and they don't follow that system, because it is quite literally that simple. And it is, find a place that's quiet, that's hidden, to Liliana's point, right? Whether that's your office, the house office here, wherever it may be, who cares, right? Build provisions. Like, go to the bathroom before you start lead generating. Like, that's the silliest thing that you would never think of, but you get 20 minutes in, you're like, oh man, I gotta go pee, right? Like, now that just took you 45 minutes because you went to the hallway, and then Tim talked to you and you have a question for him, or you have a broker so build a bunker, go find that. It lays it all out there. So simple.
And if you're gonna lead generate for 2 hours a day, put it on your calendar. And
Yes.
then using your calendar to be the one to protect your time as well. So whatever you think you have going on for the day, start putting that in to see where those gaps are that you can start making those calls. And there is in bold, and probably in Keller Williams Connect is like a 20-page contact sheet list, or just make a piece of paper that says 1 and all the way to 20. And so as you're making your comments, you just put their names in. And so that way you can easily visualize how many contacts you put in for the day.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have been starting to implement was if you have an iPhone downtime, I don't know if you guys have seen that, but you can customize it for basically a lead gen downtime to where whatever that time frame is that you're gonna lead gen, it'll shut down every app that you don't want to have access to during that time. So you're not getting pop-ups from Instagram. You may be lead genning on Facebook Messenger, so we can leave that open. Phone calls, you can leave that open, and messages, but any other apps you want to shut down, you can customize that, the timeframes that you want it shut down, just to make sure you aren't having anything else coming into your, or distracting your time, I guess.
Yeah, they call it sweeping for minds, right?
Yeah.
You sweep for minds, what's gonna pop up that's gonna distract you from getting into that zone? Because that back-to-back zone you get in is just so crucial.
It's the time switch, right? The conversation isn't what, or the actual act of whatever you're doing isn't what takes your time. It's switching out of lead gen to then checking that one app notification and then getting back in rhythm of doing this other lead gen. Like that's what costs you so much time. So definitely switching.
So family reunion is every February and it travels from different locations. It's gonna be in Anaheim in February. So if you're interested in going, please go ahead and put that on your calendar and start saving for it. Tickets increase prices at the end of September. And I will tell you that they will not have a digital option like they have previously. I know before COVID, it was maybe live streaming the main stages, but they won't have any breakouts that will be digital. So if that's something you're interested in, please put that on your calendar. Mega Camp's always in like August, and that's always in Austin, Texas. So that's one that you can always count on being a little bit closer. I will say the value of the event is more than just going and being in the room. It's who you meet after or on the way to coffee or in the mornings. That's a way to expand your reach and to be around higher minded individuals that you can really brainstorm off of and see what they're doing and what's working for them. So that's why they normally end the sessions at like 4. So everybody can go and network in the evenings or in the morning. So that's just something you would never get being here in Springfield.
Yeah, we've got some great relationship with people that started at 6 o'clock. Thanks, Mark.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
You're good. Started at 6 o'clock in the afternoon and they don't end until 2 o'clock in the morning. Right? They're like, well, that was actually really beneficial, although it seemed fun, right? But if you're intentional with those conversations, they can go a long ways for sure. Any final thoughts, guys?
Go, be there.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
Can never beat the feeling of being there in the room.
There's one other stat that came out that I thought was really interesting, which was 47% of all buyer side transactions were referred.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, did you hear that part or did I? Yeah, that was a powerful statement. That's never been that high in the history of real estate.
I think that people see other people's success more now than ever, right? So their success, if my parents sell their house, they're gonna put it on Facebook, right? Which it's never been as prevalent, right? Every year, more and more people are on Facebook and using it at a high level, right? Especially now that not everybody, but 50% of people in Springfield, heck, they work from home, right? People are on these systems, right? Facebook, Instagram, they're on there more. So they see the success of somebody selling a house or buying a house, and they want to know how and why they were able to do it in a market that maybe wasn't good, right? Maybe that's the message that's going on. And that becomes a referral for you. So that client experience at that point, once you do nail down that client, is huge, huge, absolutely huge. Guys, thank you so much. I know you guys both need to go. First of all, make it a priority. Hey, do we still do the fun?
There is a family reunion fund, yeah. So we do have a fund here at the office that after each of your closing, if you want to designate a certain amount of money to go to like a family reunion, you just put that on your commissions. If you have questions on that, you can definitely talk to Landon. But that's a way that we call it a family reunion savings fund. So if you want to put that aside, that is an opportunity for you to take money out of each of your closings. So Josh, where are you going to be so I can get the camera?
Oh, right here. Or flip it. Flip it around.
Flip it good.
Yeah, because if we're gonna mastermind a little bit, then everybody can be seen. I can go over there, so I'm gonna sit here and not bring the camera, I don't wanna break it. Awesome, guys. So, hey, I lied to you really badly. I am so sorry. How do I move this thing?
Wow.
Yeah, put it forward. And then I'll switch after that.
Wow.
Cool, sweet, thank you.
Wow.
Awesome, guys, so real quick, I have Brian come up. He's been working on a program for quite some time. And it's something that I wanted him to share with some of our 20%, some people who are looking for another opportunity. I know, man, I'm getting there, it's starting to sleep, I'm not gonna lie. So, if you guys don't know, Brian's a part of KW Military. And then he's also been working with an internship program for individuals who are offboarding out of the military. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
No, you're fine.
Just get the slide and we'll just knock it out real quick. Everything.
Like 4 minutes.
Screen share.
Yeah, hopefully we can figure them out.
If you need help, let me know.
He needs help.
You good?
Hey, so, my name's Brian Fisher. I retired from the Air Force a couple years ago, and I used a program to transition into being a real estate agent called DoD Skill Bridge. It didn't exist for Keller Williams in Springfield at the time, so I just wrote the program, made it something that I could take a part of for myself. And then whenever I got here, talked with Rachel a little bit about making it a little more official. So our market center has a skill bridge program. We're one of 7 in the entire United States that has a program where we can take interns in their last 6 months of active duty military, and we can use them, work with them, hire them, help them transition. And then maybe if they work out and they become great for us, make them a part of our teams. The intent is to hire in that last 180 days. So it's important to realize that this isn't just free labor that we're looking for. We're looking for somebody that's going to be talented for you, but you might keep. That's the intent is to hopefully help them find a job when they get finished. If it's not on your team, cool. It could just be as a solo agent. We help them along that way. Right now, my pipeline of SkillBridge interns is 6 people deep. I have a young man coming from Japan in November, as long as his command approves it. I have a young man coming from Virginia in October. He's already approved and on the way. I have 4 more scheduled for next year, starting in January. And we're just interviewing them along the way, talking to them here and there, and then bringing them into our market center. Not only our market center, but right now what I'm doing is I'm just using them as my team, unless other people want to have help. So we've had 2 other interns that have come through. One is with Kirk and Amber Kogenauer. And she's been doing great stuff for them for the past 6 months or so. She came through our program.
She's drinking from the fire hose right now.
Yeah, she is.
She's intense and really a good fit for KW.
I'll say this to Brian's point where he's like, selfishly, he wants him on his team, but he also doesn't need or have the ability for everybody right away.
Sure.
He came to me, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months ago, and was immediately trying to get us involved. And we didn't have the need at the time. And it was immediately like, how do we get this out as it's going? Because his goal is not
that.
Yeah, his goal is not to like just keep them.
Oh, I'll board talent,
For
but I don't
sure.
have room.
Yeah.
I don't have room, nor do I have enough jobs for them yet. All of those things. It'd be great if I did, but I promise you the answer 90% of the time is if can they come? My answer is yes, right? And then my answer from that is where do I put them from there?
Well, and I can't tell you how many people I meet with on a regular basis, a lot of you that are looking for talent, that want to hire, that want to grow your team, that want to leverage. And what better way than somebody who's like proven systems and models and structured.
And here's the greatest thing, and I think you might have seen it on the last one. It's absolutely free to you. The Department of Defense pays for their salary at whatever rank they're in when they're about to retire. They have all of their health benefits. They have all of their life insurance. They have every benefit as if they were active duty, and they still are active duty during that time. I made E8 pay for 6 months while I sold houses. The thing is, I wasn't allowed to make any money, right? So we had to get creative with that a little bit. When we don't pay someone, what I ask that we do is we take that money that they would have earned otherwise and pay it towards their cap. Pay off their cap first. And then we go from there, whatever split your team has from all of that. And those agreements are between you and that member, not with me. My agreement ends with them whenever I get to yes, if they're not coming to me. So however that works for you guys in your company. If you want more information on it, it's DoD SkillBridge. It used to be .mil, now it's OSD.mil. Like I said, there's only 7. I actually just had a guy finish the program up in the St. Louis Market Center as well. And I just said yes and signed him, and they took care of him for the 6 months, a little bit under the table. But, you know, it's an opportunity for these people, whether they've been serving for 4 years or 20 years to transition. Yes.
Is this something that's through KW?
No.
Or is it available through any industry?
It's available through any industry whatsoever. Please sign your companies up on the website. Go on the website and you know, it'll say, you know, apply for SkillBridge or job providers. Call me, I'll come help you through the whole deal and we'll fill it all out together. But any company that you have, I've talked to mechanics shops and I've helped them get set up. And they're getting mechanics that are qualified interns into their shops pretty instantly. Probably overqualified, sure. So we're getting some very, very good people. I mean, I just talked to a young man, he's getting medically retired, so he can't use SkillBridge on his way out. He's in Japan coming here this month. He's got an engineering degree, but he's coming here to be a plumber. I mean, had we prepped a little earlier, maybe we could have helped this guy out a little bit better, but you know, we'll help him out in another way. Yeah. So if you guys are interested, just shoot me a note. Anybody that I get, if I can't take them on, I will gladly send them, hey, here's what they used to do. Here's what they want to do. Here's their goals. The first thing I do is when they contact me is I send them a note back that says, hey, here's our training program. Here's what it looks like. And here's a list of requirements and things we want from you. If they don't ever, and most of them don't get back with me. I get a lot of requests and they just never get back, and that's fine. But once I get past that, I'm happy to start passing people out to you if you would like to train, equip, and help these people transition. So,
Trey, do you have a question?
I did, but I don't.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
assuming, no, you're good. To take somebody on like that, we don't need to be prior military in order to be involved, correct?
Not at all.
Cool.
Not at all. Our Market Centers program is, in my opinion, our Market Centers program. This is talent that everybody in here and in this organization should be able to take advantage of.
So cool.
It's not just for me. And I'm glad. Garen Smith that's coming in November, this dude's fired up. He's all kinds of excited. Come to find out, I know his aunt and uncle as well. But, you know, small military world. But we're getting all of these people coming in. Come the spring, we're going to get a ton of requests because that's when promotions come out. They start to come out in January, February, and a lot of people don't make rank. When they don't make rank, they apply for retirement. So we get a lot of requests in the spring.
Very cool.
Any other questions? Yes.
Do they have a place to stay?
So that's on them. Where do they stay? So they're transitioning out of the military. Their household goods will get to wherever they're going. They are transitioning just like they would be moving from base to base. So where they stay is on them. Yeah.
So cool, man.
So like I said, guys, I wasn't able to use it. I believed in the program and I wanted him to share it. I've got this information, that's it. But if you guys have questions and you just need this, holler at me. I'm more than happy to share it out and help out. If it's gonna be any more in depth than that, I can get you guys connected with Brian if you don't have a way to do that.
All the work's done.
Yeah.
We just need places. Is what we're gonna need, is we're gonna need people who are willing to train and help good young men and women transition out of the military into being a civilian. That's what we need. And help them to learn a new trade and live their life.
Life by design, yeah.
That's it.
So super cool opportunity, guys.
Thanks.
If it's something the right thing now, awesome. If it's not, right, just keep it in mind. If you guys know of something else that may work, right? To his point, if you are involved in other businesses or anything else that may work, holler at Ryan if it's not your real estate team or something of that nature too. Now what? Why is it? Oh, there it is. Stop sharing.
In the meeting?
Right there. So easy. Cool. I'm gonna switch this camera around real quick, guys. So
Oh, okay. Where was it?
we did the panel. We're gonna have a panel tomorrow as well at
Team meeting, which will be
Thank you.
shorter, a shorter team meeting tomorrow due to the ALC meeting right
Yeah.
after that.
ALC's right afterwards. So stay, just be quiet and listen to the ALC meeting. Or if you guys need to go on, I get it. But I really kind of wanted to open it up the rest of this time, maybe the next 30, 45 minutes to kind of the mastermind side of it, right? We talked about mega camp, maybe some things that brought up in your mind, maybe some things that you guys are seeing, having success with. I know Cronkite's been sending out emails on the builder side, right, of things that they're incentivizing for our clients and for agent incentivization. I don't know what the word is that I was looking for. I don't think that was the right one, but some things that we're all seeing in the market. And I kind of wanted to open that up. Does anyone have something they want to start out with? I don't know if you want to start out with anything, because I just name dropped you on that one, but
I appreciate it.
yeah, for sure. So obviously we're seeing a shift. It's a really, really good thing, in my opinion. It's a really, really good thing for us because we're in this room, we're in a building, we're in a market center. First of all, we're in a company that's training focused, but our market center specifically, to Rachel's point, like she looks at it as her job when she goes to these events. I know Tim and Mike and whoever else from our office get to go. They go to these events looking for an opportunity to bring something back for us, right? We're built as a company for agents and by agents. And I think that this shift that we're seeing is going to be extremely beneficial for everyone sitting here. Right? The narrative may sound scary if we don't listen to our own narrative, if we don't create it. And I think it's our job now to, we've said this a lot about in ALC, talking about like KW needs to be better about creating our own narrative, not letting other people say that. And I think that we all need to take it on ourselves to create that narrative with our clients, our friends, our SOI, or whoever we're in contact with, that it's not doom and gloom. It's a really, really cool opportunity for everyone involved right now.
I like to call it being the voice of reason, because I can't tell you how much chaos sells in the news realm, right? We always see that, we hear that. And when we've done things just recently as well, it's about being the voice of reason. It's about helping people understand what's actually happening locally, not just on the, I forget if it was Gary Keller that used to say, who cares what the average temperature of America is? Right. Nobody cares. They only care what temperature is outside, like right now. You know what I mean? So you can be the voice of, this is what the temperature is outside right now. This is what it is here. And to not put doom and gloom on it, but to put the spin of positivity, and that there's great deals in every market, and there's really good things that happen in each part of the market. And a market correction like it is right now is a blessing, believe it or not. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's a skills market too.
Yeah.
Like that's something that they've said a lot, is that now it's a skills market. You know, so people who are just coming in and just trying to post something occasionally on Instagram, like, look at my closing, I'm gonna go buy a Lamborghini. Woo! The reality is what is it? Dan says something dumb, or genius, sorry.
Whichever way you look at it.
But it's like, you know, the tide's about to come out and we're about to see who's been skinny dipping and not actually putting in the work. You know, so I mean, the only thing it boils down to is doing activities. It's a skills market now.
Tim?
I'd like to talk a little bit about what the word shift means to you guys, your higher volume people, and what you're seeing, as opposed to, rather than, I'm not seeing a shift, okay? I'm seeing still very high demand in buyers at all price points, but a rejection of prices continuing to go up. And to me, that's not a shift or a correction. A correction is when everybody goes, you know what, screw this, we're going back to where we were and we're gonna wait you out. Shift is going from a seller's market to a buyer's market. I still see a seller's market, just a rejection on prices continuing to go up.
We're in a different seller's market, but it's still definitely a seller's market. And that was one thing that they talked about
Yeah.
at Family or at Mega a couple of times. We've never had a shift, right? Economic shift, real estate shift, whatever it may be, and had this low of inventory nationwide, right? So we're in this shift of rates and this shift of not accepting higher prices, right? Sellers not able to get 10% more than they would have 2 months ago. But there's still a lack of inventory and there's still a lack of quality inventory out there.
Right.
And that is huge opportunity.
Overpriced inventory is the same as it always was. It's gonna sit until
It doesn't,
yeah, well,
or they don't do anything with it.
right. They either, I mean, I'm seeing more cancels and expireds for sure,
Yep,
and it's all price stuff.
absolutely.
Or before it was, there's a reason this thing didn't sell.
Yeah.
Mostly because of sellers' expectations. Once those sellers get that in their mind of what it was before, what I'm getting now is less than it was before, then like it deteriorates motivation, it deteriorates willingness, it deteriorates their ability to be reasonable. And that's why you see all that coming off and pulling away.
Right, and to what Elise said about skills, you know, how do you manage that at the very, very beginning, right? I love to take away clothes. You go ahead and try it. When you get serious, give me a call, you know? I love the thing of, I'll put it on the market at that level, for sure. But that, you know, that old thing of, you wanna list it or you wanna sell it? Or that expectation of, we're gonna talk every week and every third week, we're gonna sit down together. If it hasn't sold, we're gonna figure out why. And there's 3 reasons why something doesn't sell, right? And number 1 is gonna be their motivation.
And I think we have a huge opportunity to have that same conversation with other agents too. If you're representing a buyer, like it's our opportunity to have that same conversation with a listing agent. Dude, like this house has been on the market for 30 days.
Yeah.
Right? And there is a reason it's not sold. And if you can't believe in it when the facts show otherwise, right? It's not an emotional thing any longer. Because to Elise's point, right? Tide's going out, we're gonna see who's skinny dipping. There's plenty of people who knew plenty of people got in the agent or got in the real estate business. And they took 3-4 listings, they sold a few homes, they had buyers coming out of their ears and they thought it was easy, right? So they just did whatever they did, but no skill to it. We're gonna see a lot more expireds and we're gonna see a lot more cancels. We're gonna see a lot more FSBOs not actually selling, which is an opportunity. That's all that it is. And I think this shift more than ever, that's really where we see the opportunity. There's always been opportunity to take market share in a shift. Like that's part of what a
We're
shift
also gonna
is.
see more buyers who want to lowball,
Mhm.
because they think there's a crash coming.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, the skill set, right? How do you avoid having to waste your time with those people?
Yeah.
Well, to Tim's point too, he's talking about how do you define a shift? I think it's important that we explain what we mean too, right?
Mhm.
Are we talking about a shift in the market? Are we talking about a shift in the skill required to thrive in the market that we're in? Right, is that kind of what you're getting
Well,
at?
to me,
Because the skills
word
shift I'm
shift
seeing,
from
but I don't see a
seller's
market
to a
shift.
Medium market to a buyer's market, that pendulum.
Yeah.
That's what a shift is about.
Well, I think.
And I want to use words that help everybody, not just.
Yeah, well, I think a shift is anytime the market changes. I think we had a shift in 2020. You know, we went from it was a seller's market, but we shifted in how we were doing business. And we were gonna continue to do that and to pull it out of our industry. I was talking with some high-level car industry people and I made the comment, I was like, so when am I gonna be able to just walk on your lot and, you know, look at several Ford Broncos? And he said, you're not going to. He goes, we're shifting our business model where, you know, he didn't say this definitely, but he's like, I don't know that you'll ever see that day again. He goes, we're doing more and more custom order cars. And, you know, you're gonna order them and we're not gonna produce as many so we can make more profit margin. So
Yeah.
there are shifts happening and I think a shift.
Supply shift, right?
We think of a shift negatively, but to your point, I think the real estate market shifted in 2020. And we were all worried about it being a shift down. If you remember that time, I know my mindset in March of 2020, I go, whoa, what am I gonna do? What's gonna happen? And it really shifted the other way. You know, we downshifted and hit the gas.
Yeah.
You know, and right now we may just be shifting into sixth gear.
I think there's a lot of talk about the market shifting, and that's a very general statement to make. And there's not I mean, we can talk about that all day long, but I think something that you just hit on that is not hit on nearly enough is the training on what does it mean if we do truly shift back to a buyer's market? Like, what does that mean? Everybody, and it's, the lead gen stuff is awesome, just like we talked about today. Everybody has to keep lead genning. That's a given. Everyone knows that, whether we do it or not. Myself included, like, we might do it. Those that do it will make it through it. I think the biggest in the weeds thing that we can talk about with that shifting market, whether we go to a buyer's market or just a softer seller's market, whatever it is the conversations with not only sellers, but buyers as well. Like you talk about, we have buyers that are gonna want to lowball. We still saw that in 2019, right? We still had that. It was a great market, but we still have people wanting to do that. We also had sellers that were wanting to list higher and not necessarily getting it, right? And so the conversations, I think, with the shifting market, that when it becomes a skill-based market, like we've talked about as well, is how do we have those conversations and set those expectations? Like you said, we can list it here, but I think where the vast majority of agents that are going to fail because they do not set a plan with their clients on what happens in 2 weeks when their plan does not work, right? A year ago, we could list that house high and it might take 5 days to sell, but it would still sell, right? Those buyers, we'd be in the market, we'd go look at 10 houses, write 10 offers before we would change our game plan. We didn't really have to because it was the same thing over and over and over and there's nothing to change. But I think where the vast majority of agents that are going to fail in this shifting market is going to be because they cannot conform to the conversations that they have to have with their clients to set a plan, not just have the conversation, but say, hey, here's what's going to happen, lay it out for them. You might have to let it happen with some people, those people that want to lowball or want to list too high. You might have to let them do it, but set the plan before you get going so that they can say, oh my gosh, we've been through this before, I've heard this before, so this is the next step. And I think the agents that don't do that are going to be the ones that fail.
Yeah, I know we've had the
There's some
conversation.
nuances to those conversations that are very interesting too. You go to your seller and you talk about, you know, a lot of people think the market's gonna crash. I don't think it's gonna crash, but if you're highly motivated to get it sold, we have to price ahead of the market, right? That's the term we like to use, right?
Yeah.
And with the buyers who say, you know, it's gonna crash and so I want to lowball, that nuanced idea of, well, inventory is still low, where's this crash coming from? You wanna be a player, you wanna wait 6 months? This market's climb. You know, or do you want to be a player today?
I think you're probably gonna have to have some hard conversations with buyers too, because they're hearing all this crap. And you're probably gonna have to tell some people that, hey, I understand that we're wanting to get a deal, but this isn't reasonable. And so I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna be able to work with you at this time if that's what your game plan is.
Take away close.
I
I
think
want
you're
to
gonna have to do
piggyback
that.
off of
Yeah.
Trey, if that's all right, but I appreciate Guy and Trey, what they were saying about, like, what is a shift? And your question's great, because a shift, to me, what you described, when you asked that question, you asked the question out of the definition of shift, out of the shift book. So when you say to someone like Guy or myself about a shift, I agree, we've been through shifts. We've been shifting and shifting and shifting. And so the conversations that you're saying that you're having, I don't have those conversations, ever. And it's because of what Trey said was you've just set up, the low ballers, we had those in 2008 when you could buy something for nothing. So you have those things. So for shift for me is just the ebb and flow of it all the time. Just every single day, the way we lead generate. I mean, I shouldn't be saying this to this group of people, but like, we don't lead generate. Like, we don't sit in time blocking. We work off of a sphere. And that's how we've operated this whole time. And when I come sit in the market center and I hear this and those conversations, I'm like, what in the world is going on in the world? Because like, we don't have that in our world because we're doing the same thing that we were, I mean, some things differently. I'm not using a fax machine anymore, but from 1980, But we're still signing everything in person, most everything. But we're doing the same activities that we've been doing this same time. And so when you hear people saying, there's a shift, agents are coming in, I'm not discrediting what everybody's talking about, but for me, my same activities now are the same as they were 20 years ago. And when you stay so consistent with what you guys, the people who are thriving, we know there's agents in our brokerage that 2 years ago started out as new agents, and they're sitting in this room, like they're at the top 5, not 5%, but top 5 agents probably, I'm assuming. But those are brand new agents. And if those agents will continue to do the same things that they were doing then, if they're doing the work, right, Elise, they're doing the work and the activities, they're not going to notice the shifts, the shift that keeps being referred to, or the crash, or the, those kind of things. So to say all of that, just do the same things that you were doing before you got it in your head of what the rooms full of people were saying. That's what I would say. So some would say I have my head in the sand or have blinders on, but.
And you had a perfect point though, right? Like, where'd you build your business off of? SOI, right? And you say you don't lead gen now. You lead gen, but it doesn't look like
Correct.
what people imagine lead gen being.
I love
Right.
that statement because it's
don't-
absolutely true. We've even talked about it.
Yeah. You may not call it.
You do lead gen.
Yeah.
It's the past deals you've done. It's the
Sure.
staying in touch with your
Sure.
clients. It's the follows up things that you.
So a great example of that, my daughter Mallory went through Bold. And so everybody in my office went through Bold, and Mallory came out and was like, what? They are nuts. Like, I am not doing that. Like, she was like mad the whole time. She was like, can you believe they're telling, well, she grew up lead generating differently, So we lead generate by driving the gator down the road and stopping and talking to every person in every yard, or every farmer, or every, so I agree that we do that, but just lead generation just looks different. So I agree with that, but I just want to encourage everybody to just do the same activities that you were doing in your successful time, and just,
You're making a point though, like Tim asked the question, what does a shift mean? It's the same question. What does lead gen mean, right? It doesn't have to be cold calling, FSBOs, expireds, canceleds, right? Some people do really, really good at that. I've got a list of my top 100. I dive into them really well. And over the weekend, I had 2 different referrals off of my SOI and past clients. I don't personally like to call FSBOs and expireds and canceled. It's not my game. It's not what I've been super successful with. Our team does it because we built that system as well. But for me personally, I've always been open houses because those people got turned into my Met database, and long enough relationship with them on a 2-way conversation, they become a part of my SOI and they become part of my past clients. And then my sphere, because they're a past client, maybe slide into the SOI, right? That I'm not lead generating for new leads necessarily as much as I am lead follow-up with past clients and generating their referrals. To Tim's point earlier, 47% of people who are in business are referrals. This weekend, I received multiple. I didn't make a single phone call this weekend to get them. There was people texting me saying, hey, so-and-so's doing this. Here you go. I didn't lead gen for those on Saturday. They came to me on Saturday because it was relationships, to Jen's point, right? You stay consistent on that, your SOI will never forget about you. There's nothing more terrible than when a sign goes in a yard of a friend's house, right? Why did that happen? All right, it's because either you failed or that person didn't care. And some of them, you got to let them go, right? I've got one right now that the relationship maybe look a little bit different from now on, right? And I'm okay with that. But I mean,
It's real.
and they're not, those people aren't deal friends, right? Talk about deal friends and real friends. Gary mentioned that a lot at family. And those people weren't deal friends until they made it about being deal friends. And I said, okay, maybe they're not my top 100 anymore, right? Maybe somebody can replace them that's going to be more mutually beneficial. And it is mutually beneficial. Whether you want to be, I hate the term because it has such a negative, but like a B&I group, right? You're in a BNI because those 12 or those other 11 or 9, however big they are, right? They're a part of your sphere and you're referring back and forth and back and forth. Why not just turn your sphere into whatever you might be a part of, right? Elise is doing the Realtor Bourbon Club, right? You started that, right? Did I lie that? Okay, cool. I was like, I don't want to make that up.
Anybody else like bourbon?
But to that same point, right? If she did the same thing, and I know she does within her sphere, right? Where does your business come from,
Bourbon.
right? What's wrong with that?
Right.
Like, how amazing is that, right?
Well, no,
But
Elise's lead
staying
gen at family
extremely
reunions and mega
consistent,
camps,
100%.
again, totally different than something from Bold,
Yeah,
example.
100%.
But that network
There's no
she's
reason
got.
for it. I hate the fact that people, it is simple, right? It's 20 contacts. I don't care how you get them. As long as they're effective and efficient contacts, right? We're doing it right now because we have a bunch of people on our team going through Bold, and someone reported 25 contacts the other day. And I said, how many of those were legit? Like, how many of those were meaningful? And they're like, 12. Like, all right, cool. I get it, right? You have to turn in a metric, right? You have to turn that in. But why not just make it 20 real conversations with fill it with 8 more friends rather than random cold calls that you have zero passion about. It doesn't do you any good, and you're not going to follow up with them anyways.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I mean, contacting people and like going to these events, like I've been to family reunion, I've been to mega camp, and each time I go, like, there's KW military, there's KW, like, I mean, I hate to say this, but like cliques in a way, but like if you have a teacher background, a law enforcement background, I mean, or if you're gay, hey, or if you're in like an ally, there's a group for that. Like some of the best referral groups, last week was a $7,000 commission check week for me from the Rainbow Network. I mean, that's $7,000 that I wouldn't have had if I wasn't in that group, because those are people that are referring people to me because they know that they can trust me with their clients. Same thing with, I'm in 2 law enforcement groups. And so it's about, I mean, networking. And some of the other things that I actually was very intentional about was going and meeting people in really big cities that probably have a lot of money that they need to put somewhere, but they can't afford to in those really big cities. So I'm like, well, let me tell you about Springfield and the Ozarks. And I'm sending a bunch of information and I put agents on drip campaigns because I want them to buy in this area and they have money to burn.
Yeah.
So
Some of
that's
our best clients are agents in this
Yeah,
area.
they're agents, and like and that's what I anticipate is gonna continue to happen, so that's why when I go to these things, it's very intentional. But lead gen doesn't even look like that for me half the time, because if it's like clients where I feel like I have to call them and it's gonna be kind of a cold call-y situation, I'm just doing client events, just invite them, send them an invite, make a Facebook group. Making Facebook groups has been really beneficial for me because people are still seeing those things that I'm talking about or doing, or just posting memes and just making people laugh. It's just a matter of connecting in some way, shape, or form.
But what are you doing? You're being consistent.
Absolutely.
You have to, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think that, to Trey's point, we try to overcomplicate it, and it's really not that hard. I don't remember who it was on stage, they were talking about their events. They're like, my people are on like a 65 touch because of the events alone. They don't communicate with their clients at all, or not their clients, but their Met database or their database at all outside of events. Like 0. They don't do any lead gen outside of events. And their lead gen through the events is because Elise makes a Facebook event. I accept the invite to it. My sphere sees the invite. They want to go to the bourbon night. So they then all of a sudden show up and now they're Elise's SOI, right? And that's not a referral. Like that was nothing but like creating this event and being consistent and creating energy around it is huge. But you do one event and you never do it again, it's worthless, right? Yeah. We've focused a lot more on events because be really honest with you guys, they're a lot more fun. And those phone calls you have to make with your lead gen calls are really simple.
Inviting
It's
somebody.
not a cold call like, hey, Brian, I know we haven't talked in 17 years. Once upon a time, I don't know how I got your number, but I did, right? It goes to, hey, Brian, Josh with the Varus Network. We're getting ready to host this movie event. Love to see you there. Saturday, bring your family. We're gonna have this, that, and the other. Boom, here you go, right? Those people are like, oh, sweet, I haven't heard this dude in 15 years, and he just invited me to an event that he's throwing. Cost me nothing, and I get all this fun stuff, who's not gonna appreciate that, right?
And even if they don't go, big deal.
Who cares? Who cares? You're still gonna do it, right? But it's a contact.
Well, that goes back to one of the main themes of Mega Camp this year was, are we fulfilling a function or are we creating an experience? And that was probably one of the biggest pieces of the whole thing. And I feel like that's what Keller Williams has kind of gotten back to. Josh, I mean, that was one thing that I saw in that video was that it's like, wait, this is where entrepreneurs thrive. And that's an experience that they're creating through our offices and through our leadership and all that.
And I think, and we were kind of joking, that session, we were watching in the hotel room because it was chaos in there. I mean, it was just absolute chaos in the mega, they had sold it out. They had all the leadership off-site because it was so sold out. Like it was crazy down there. It was pretty cool to see. But we decided just to watch the live stream that we had in our hotel room. And when they put that event on, or that video on, you know, we kind of laughed. We're like, used to be going E to P, right? Entrepreneur to purposeful. And, or as Dan likes to say, entrepreneurial to profitable. And it went to where entrepreneurs thrive. Well, how do you thrive? It's by being purposeful in doing it, right? But that message doesn't fly to people, right? Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Like that's the cool thing to be. No one has a clue what that really means to be successful until you get into the environment that we're in here and you learn what a thriving entrepreneur means. So I think it's a huge point. What Elise said, being a part of groups. One of the things that I did a few different times at Mega was being a part of the top 100. We were able to do like a speed dating event. In my head, I'm like, I do not want to do this. This is not what I enjoy doing. But by the time I left the first time, I was like, all right, when's the next session? Like, when's the next one that I can sneak off to? And it was connecting with other people, right? And find a group that you relate with, connect to them, because those people also relate to you and they want to trust you with their people. The reason that it works is you're like-minded and your past or your present careers, right? Law enforcement, military, like they're gonna immediately trust somebody more there. And it doesn't matter if you start connecting with other people that are individuals at Mega Camp, right? There's Facebook groups leading up to every Mega Camp and every family reunion. People are posting there, who owns a team, right? You can post, who's an individual? I want to meet up with another individuals and talk about how their business is going and what they're doing to be successful. You'll have 100 people comment on there and you'll meet up and have drinks with 100 of them. And it's no exaggeration, but you just created your own group. You just created your own little clique. And you got to do it while having a couple drinks at the bar and scootering around with each other.
Bourbon.
Scoot. But anybody else got anything else they want to bring up? Conversations, concerns, questions,
I
thoughts?
have just one more thought before I lose it, and I'm kind of preaching to my choir here, but I think everybody complicates the lead generation too much. Specifically when we look at SOI. It's, you know, we can talk about going to pay Zillow for leads or going to have a website built that's going to use SEO to generate leads, whatever it is. In my mind, it's the same thing as working in SOI, because the goal of working in SOI is to get your SOI's contacts that are not in your SOI and move them into your SOI. Just like paying for and I'm going to use this example, I'm sorry, but a Zillow lead. You're paying Zillow to move someone from a spot on their couch looking at houses into someone that is going to use you to buy or sell a house, which then moves them, or should move them into your SOI. So like Jen said in the back, they like to roll around on the gator and do redneck stuff and talk to their people. Like how easy of a lead gen method is that? And it's fun, I will say, but
You're welcome to come along.
what we're doing, I'm good with that. I'll come.
Without your phone or pen or paper.
The
You
phone
can't have
probably-
my clients.
The phones probably don't work out there, do they?
Sometimes.
Okay.
If you please,
But anyway, so Jen's going out there and she's connecting with her people that are her neighbors, that she can go drive around and talk to these people. She talks to them on a regular basis so that they're going to use her. But the purpose of going around and doing this is because they know other people that are going to move, right? And the average statistic of everybody's going to know at least 5 people that are buying or selling a house on a yearly basis. the whole point of working in SOI should be to get your SOI's SOI. I mean, you can have, I've got like 3 people that like me. That's not gonna be a great business to run for 3 people buying and selling a house every 5 years.
I like you, Trey.
But thank you. You're one of the 3,
Oh.
actually. Yeah. So, I mean, how do we move our SOI's SOI into ours? And I think that everybody thinks, oh my gosh, I've got 10 people that I hang out with on a regular basis. If I just talk to them, that's not really gonna generate that much business. But then you think of how many people those 10 people know, and then how many people do those people know? And I think they overcomplicate it and actually, I think too small there of, I only know 10 people, and that's not gonna help me at all.
I think to your point, Trey, that's the biggest reason why I love events, right? Because it's not about my 50 people of my friends that I get to bring.
Yeah.
It's the one person that might come with them that just expanded my SOI by 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and along the events one too, it actually isn't whether or not they attend, that's the important thing. It's the fact that they were invited.
Mhm.
And they see online that it happened and they're like, dang, I was gonna go to that. I'm going to the next one or whatever it
Who
is.
cares if they show
Yeah,
up?
it isn't even about them showing
I
up.
don't wanna buy them.
Takes away my time.
Yes, we want them to show up, but I'm telling you, in their eyes, you
I'll
know?
tell you that some of the events that we've run that have had the absolute most traffic, most hits, most views, everybody and their uncle shares it. Nobody shows up to it, but the communication was there.
Yeah.
And then the people call up, hey, you guys had that ice cream social. Yeah, we did. You weren't there. But was anybody else?
It's still in my freezer.
Or if they don't come, oftentimes they'll feel bad and they'll go like, oh, I'm so sorry I missed that. I go, oh, you owe me a referral now, you know, and just make it funny. And I'm telling you, that works too. Yeah.
Brian, what were you gonna say? I was interested. You look like-
No, it's not that important. I was gonna say, all you need to know is 3 people.
Okay.
Right? My philosophy is nobody wants you to do better than your friends, right? But they just don't want you to do better than them. So I just need to know 3 people who want me to make $30,000.
Yeah.
That's all I need, right? Realistically.
Yeah.
And if I know those and I'm intentional, like you're saying, then we're in good shape. I don't need that much. I don't need to know that many people.
That might be one of the coolest ways that I've heard it put. Find 3 people that want you to make $30,000.
That's all you need.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, it's not about the market share, it's your market share is kind of what your point is, right? And I remember the graph that on day 1 that Gary showed that kind of showed that difference where if you just hold your market share, you go from having 10% to 28%, right? If the market's shifting, but you're not, and you're in a holding pattern, then that's awesome. I think my misconception that I made when I was new and I heard the shift is like, oh, well, that means I have to change the ways that I find business. No, I just need to hold on to the business that I have. So my team, we don't talk about dollars, GCI, we talk about units. That's the most important number. If you're keeping your units, then that's the protection of your future business. Because those people will still be there and their people will still be there.
The only time you need to change your activities in a shift is if you realize that you're not doing the correct activities to begin with.
Right.
And you're being lazy, right? You're being high tide, floats all ships, right?
So I'm gonna keep drinking, smoking and eating because that's where all my people come from, right?
Oh, wow.
That's why I'm very full. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My businesses.
I'm all in, Tim.
That's right.
I
That's
can
taking
lead
it
through
to
there,
another
too.
level right there.
Yeah.
Guys, I appreciate it. Anybody got any final thoughts? No?
I guess-
Cool.
I do have
Yeah.
a final question.
Yeah.
And this may open up a larger can of worms, but on the buyer sentiment, we touched on it, people like, oh, they want a lowball. I mean, we've seen lowballs all the way through every ounce of the pandemic and coming out of it. There was no point in time somebody thought they couldn't get a deal because the builder must be making loads of cash. And so, I mean, that part still hasn't changed. They're still there. They're still coming in. I think the buyer sentiment on that one. But what about the buyer sentiment of, I should be getting a better deal now? Home prices should be coming down because it seems like almost overnight that conversation almost immediately shifted to where they are starting to demand it. And I get it to a certain extent because we're not in inflation, we're inflation, but things are more expensive and things are harder to attain. And your interest rate goes up and all of a sudden you're upside down on what would have been a fantastic loan opportunity. Those things are happening all the time, but how are those conversations being managed? A lot of times we get it, brought to us, last minute, like, oh yeah, we've got everything all squared away here. This is what they can do now. But one of our biggest things is trying to address it up front.
Yeah.
And so that's why we've got the incentives, where we've got $10,000 buyer assistance. It's buy your rate down, we'll cover your closing costs. We want to help you in this time period where things are more difficult to still be able to achieve what you wanted. But like, how do you communicate with your buyers
I'll tell you
when
what,
that's
I'll tell you
frustrating?
something that I do that, so I don't remember where I heard this at, but so in the history of having real estate and everything is, it's always appreciating, right? Right? It's just always appreciating. So if you look at over the history of appreciation, increased prices, we hit 2008. It stopped, right? It just stayed. So when it stayed, people started saying it's a bad market, right? But just because it stayed didn't mean that it was bad. So you've got 2008 to 2012, you didn't have the appreciation that we've seen always. So when you get to when you get through those years and you get to now and the prices are up here, that's why people are like, whoa, this is out of control. But if appreciation would have continued through 2008, 2009, 10, 12, 14, 16, we're really pretty close to where, do you agree?
15%.
Yeah.
By the numbers on the slide.
Yeah, so
15%.
we're really where we would be anyway, in my opinion, had we have not had all of those years of no appreciation. Does that make sense to everybody?
Last year was the first year we climbed over that.
Yeah.
The whatever, 50-year trend
But the
line.
great point there too is that in those bad years.
They're not bad years.
It didn't go down. Those bad
Yes.
years, it didn't go, okay, it's a
Yes.
great opportunity.
Yes.
It went.
yes. So it's just
"No,
like a
the same."
perception, it's a
Yeah.
perception of, I mean, have you ever heard anybody ever say, wow, I'm so excited. The older I've gone, the older I am and the more time goes by, things get so much cheaper.
When was the last
Like,
time
do
rent
you
went down?
ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that
Well,
doesn't
find it.
happen. So why would anybody make the assumption that cars would level out or houses would, like, that is not the American way, is for things to get to a place and now they're worth what they're worth.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what we do. And that's not how we grow. And that's not how we create wealth, is by things just staying the same.
To your point, and kind of, it's where it's hard right now, I think, is some of the first-time home buyers, when we start looking at rent. A lot of times your first home you buy, Keller Williams, we talk about your financial thermostat. And a lot of people buy with their financial thermostat, their rent, whatever they're renting, they buy with that mortgages, and they set that for a long period of time. Well, now they're having to reset that in a lot of ways if they're buying a new house. And I was talking with some investors and people that talked to several different people at different points, and the average house, is 300,000 in Christian County. And we talk about rent being ridiculous. It's hard to find anything under $2,000 a month for rent. And I'm like, well,
Is it really?
yeah, I mean, there are 1,500, you can get 1,500, but
You
my
feel lucky
daughter's,
at
my daughter's renting an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment for 700, for example, for kind of where that is. But but that $300,000 house, if you're a first-time home buyer buying with a USDA loan, that's $2,100 to $2,500 a month is what that is. So that makes, that's why rent's going up the way that it is and kind of where it is. So everything's going to get there. And I've had the conversation with my buyers. I'm like, you're buying the fixed rent because rent is going to continue to go up. And it may go up more than other things, so buy the fixture.
Yep. I think, and this may not really affect you quite as much, however, when we talk about buyers getting deals, they're getting a good deal right now, because they don't have to pay 20 grand over list price. They get to pay list price, and they actually get to negotiate on inspections, and they get to have appraisal rights. That's a good deal. It's a fair deal, right? Because sellers got a little bit of power there too, because they get their ask price of what should be fair as long as it's listed correctly. But it's a great time for buyers compared to the past 2 years. They're actually getting a fair deal. They're not competing against 20 other people. They're the only offer in, they get to go negotiate, they get to keep their inspection rights, they get to keep their appraisal rights. It's a great time to be a buyer right now compared to the past 2 years. So I think it's a perspective thing.
Right.
Most of those, especially the first time home buyers, are talking to their parents and their parents are saying, oh, you should go offer half price and just see if they take it. It's like, again, kind of like we talked about earlier, you can do that, but it's not gonna be with me because we're gonna be wasting our time. If you guys, here's where we're at, here's what's realistic to expect. If you want to actually do this, let's do it. Now's a great time because we're not competing with 20 other people and we're not having to put an offer in 45 minutes after seeing the house and get all this stuff done. So I think that on our side, that's where we're focusing is everybody hears that the market's going to crash. It's actually a really great time to buy because we're not competing with 20 other people and you're not going to overpay right now. You're going to pay what something's actually worth. Whereas 2 years ago, you weren't paying what something was worth right here and now. You're paying over and expecting it to appreciate.
I mean, we're not writing $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 appraisal gaps now, right? Like we're
Not
writing.
quite any.
Yeah, exactly.
I got one this
And-
week. Good for you guys.
There you go.
You're the best listing agent in Southwest Missouri.
But to your point, it's agents from another brokerage that may not know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I got, now not a $20,000, just a $5,000 one, still.
Mike Brown got an escalation in the contract we received last week.
Yeah.
An escalation clause.
Oh, yeah, well, today.
And it was only offered,
Yeah, same
right?
thing.
But they
Only
didn't
on-
ask, they just went
Brian
and
sent me
submitted
one, I
it.
sent him one yesterday. What am I gonna do? I gotta try to win, I still didn't win.
I'll use our team and then I'll lean on Colton on this one too. Sorry to just bring you in, but I know you guys did a lot of off-market stuff as well when all of this stuff was going, when all the crazy explosion was going on. And my conversation to my buyers at that time will be the same conversation we're having now. Your deal's not gonna be getting a lower price. Your deal's not competing with somebody else, right? So they're telling you their off-market price, because we would, in all reality, we'd say, hey, this person will bite and they will jump right now at 350. They're gonna list at 330, right? 2 months from now, or a month from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 days from now, they're gonna list it at 330. They know they're gonna get more. This is again, previous market, right? Your deal is not competing. Your deal is also like not competing, so you're gonna write it either as is or minimum $2,500 repair. And my buyers were writing crazy offers if it would have been a market 2 years ago, because they weren't competing. And they knew that if that house went on the open market, they had no chance of getting it. And that's the same conversation I'm having with people now, is your deal is not getting it half price. Your deal that you're getting on a house is not having the competition and not writing 30,000 over asking to lose, right? I'm sure you guys had very similar mindset around it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always the first conversation.
Mhm.
And I think it's changed a little bit. We were scripting around that this morning about, not letting the buzz of what everybody else is saying affect your buyers, where it's like, if you find the house and you can get it off market and it's a win-win and all these things, why are we sleeping on it?
Mhm.
Because that's starting to happen now. But absolutely.
Yeah,
you're saying.
absolutely. Cool. Guys, I appreciate it. We may skip next month and then try to do like an offsite top 20 event before the year end, try to get one event going.
I think we're gonna look at it on the 18th, not the 20th that you originally said, just to see if that works. We'll be in Austin. I know.
Awesome, guys. Thanks.
I don't wanna miss an offset.
As Gary says, onward.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
I think Kelly, all I need to know is the little mailbox.
Like literally.
I'll take a mailbox.